Sable lay flat along a salt-bent branch and watched the strangers make a camp below. She was small even for a sprite, no longer than a man's forearm, with green-brown skin like wet bark and wings she kept folded tight against her back, so they would not catch the light. Sprites survived by staying where larger things forgot to look. Sable had spent 400 years in the grey wood, learning how to vanish among leaves, how to go still when wolves passed below, and how to listen without being listened for in return. She had been watching the bay for 2 days. She was trying to decide what they were. The new creatures had come in 5 battered ships and put themselves ashore in a hurry that still had order to it. They carried sick ones first, then water casks, then tools, then bundles wrapped in oilskin, seeds in clay jars, books, actual books, wrapped better than some of the people were clothed. Sable had never seen that before. They did not act like raiders. Raiders spread out. These stayed close, but they still looked dangerous. The adults made her wary. They moved like creatures used to danger, not wild like orcs, not careless like goblins. These moved with purpose. They wasted no steps. They stacked, sorted, counted, built. Even tired, even hurt, even after crossing open water, they kept doing the next needed thing. And they were dangerous. One broad-shouldered man hauled timber with a spear strapped across his back and dried blood dark on one sleeve, as if he had not had time to wash after killing something. A woman with her arm bandaged from wrist to elbow still walked the shoreline, placing fighters by hand, pointing out angles of fire, and telling others where the weak ground lay. These were not soft creatures. Whatever had driven them here had not made them harmless. The children were different. Children made sense. They drifted where the adults had no time to look. They poked at tide pools. They picked up shells. One little girl spent half an hour trying to coax a crab out from under a stone with a piece of kelp. That was familiar. Sable had watched the young of many races. Curiosity was always the same shape. Maybe, she thought, these newcomers would be more like elves than goblins. Perhaps they would settle badly noisily, but not cruelly. Then she heard the name. Wren, a woman called it from the deck of one of the ships. Thin voice, tired voice, a warning in it. Wren, this time a man near the surf line. Sharper, looking for the same child. Sable found him then, a small boy near the plank, turning each time the name was called. He had straight dark hair hacked short with a knife, a shirt too big for him, and the watchful look of a child in a place that was not yet safe. He obeyed when called, but not quickly. His attention kept getting caught by things around him. A rope, a shell, a gull trying to steal fish guts from a bucket. Wren, Sable thought, and kept one eye on him after that. She watched him help where he could. Carry a bundle no bigger than his chest. Drag a blanket through the sand. Stand out of the way when adults passed with heavier loads. He looked young enough to be harmless. Sad, too, in the plain shifting way of children, not broken by it. Just dimmed. That made what happened next worse. Wren went up the plank and came back down carrying a cage. Sable went cold. The cage was small, made of thin wood slats and bent wire. Inside sat a brown bird, plain as dry grass, one wing drooping lower than the other. Wren held the cage carefully, but Sable had seen careful hands do cruel things before. All the old anger came back at once. She knew what cages meant. She knew them the way you know something you have spent a long time hating. She had learned them in the goblin camps east of the grey wood, where small animals were trapped and kept alive for amusement. Goblins liked fear. They liked the sound of wings battering uselessly against bars. They liked the frantic scramble of paws on wood. Sable had once found a squirrel with its tail set on fire, and the cage hung from a pole so everyone could laugh when it spun in circles. She had found a songbird with half its feathers missing, because the goblins liked to pluck one at a time and hear it shriek. Worst were the ones that stopped fighting. A rabbit that sat at an open door and would not leave. She had opened every latch she ever found. Her body remembered before her thoughts did. Sable slid down the trunk, dropped to a lower branch, then to a stump hidden by reeds. She moved in short, silent darts, wings half open for balance, never rising far enough to cast a shadow on the sand. Wren set the cage above the tide line and ran back toward the ship when someone shouted his name again. Good, Sable thought. Good. She could be in and gone before he returned. She reached the cage and crouched beside it. Up close, the bird looked smaller still. bright black eyes, thin legs, the crooked wing held close but not tight. It did not throw itself against the slats when it saw her. That gave Sable one heartbeat of pause. Some frightened things went still. She knew that too. Her fingers touched the latch. Heart sight struck at once. That was the gift of Sable's kind. When she came close enough to a living creature, she felt its fear, pain, or calm as plainly as heat from a fire. The bird filled her senses. No panic, no trapped terror, warmth, a full belly, safety, the deep animal certainty that food would come, water would come, night would pass, and no harm would follow. Under that lay the body truth of the wing itself, broken once, set badly at first, set again, bound with care. Healing. Sable froze. She looked harder, as if looking could change what she felt. The bird blinked at her and gave one soft chirp, not of fear, but of annoyance at being interrupted. Hearing footsteps on the plank, Sable slipped back into the reeds and went still. Then Wren came back. This time he carried a little cloth pouch clutched in one fist. Sable watched through the stems. Wren dropped to his knees in the sand beside the cage. "Here," he whispered, though the bird could not possibly know the word. He opened the pouch and pinched out seeds one by one, pushing each through the slats. The bird hopped close and took them from his fingers without hesitation. Wren smiled for the first time Sable had seen. It was small and quick and gone again, but it changed his whole face. When the seeds were gone, he opened the cage door. Sable leaned forward. The bird did not fly. Of course it could not. The bad wing still hung wrong. Wren did not try to take it out. He only slid his hand in slowly, and let the bird step onto his fingers. He lifted it just enough to look at the splint tied around the wing with narrow strips of cloth. His tongue caught at the corner of his mouth while he worked. Child's concentration. He checked the knot, touched the wing with ridiculous care. Then he set the bird back inside and closed the door again. Not prison, Sable realized. Protection. She sat back on her heels and felt foolish, then relieved, then foolish again. From the ship a woman called Wren? He glanced up at once. "Coming!" He looked at the bird one more time before he ran. The bird watched him go, settled, safe, and tucked one foot up into its feathers. Sable stayed where she was until the light changed. That night the adults built walls from their own ship timber. Sable watched from the tree line again, hidden under leaves, and the old uncertainty returned. These people were dangerous. There was no point pretending otherwise. She saw how fast they worked, how well they obeyed one another, how naturally the fighters took positions while others hauled wood and rope. The bandaged woman still gave orders, as if pain were an interruption she had no time for. A man with a split lip and a sword at his hip drove sharpened stakes into the ground until his hands bled fresh through old cuts. They were making this shore hard to take back. Sable understood that much, but she had also seen Wren kneel in the sand and feed a hurt bird seed by seed. Both things were true. Near midnight, while hammers still thudded and voices stayed low and sharp, the bird began to sing. A small, clear sound from inside the rough camp. Men stopped carrying timber for half a breath. A woman by the fire closed her eyes. Wren was asleep by then, curled under a blanket near the inner wall, but the bird sang anyway. Sable listened. At dawn, she should have gone back into the grey wood to tell the others that the newcomers were armed, organized, and likely permanent. Instead, she stayed. She wanted one more day to watch Wren. One more day to look at the adults, and then at the children, and ask the question she could not put aside. If the children became those adults, what changed? Did the world harden them until all the gentleness was gone? Or did they keep it? Sable did not know yet what these newcomers were. She had seen what they could do with walls, weapons, and ordered hands. She had also seen a boy crouch in the sand and care for a broken thing as if it mattered as much as any wall. Sable stayed because she was not done deciding.